Yo, let's get into this. So today's topic is going to be something that I think a lot of people struggle with understanding, or I don't know what they do. I don't know if they struggle or not, right? Let's just put it like that. But I know that for me, it took me not a while, but I kind of just didn't want to build an understanding for fat burning zones. And that's what I want to talk about today. So we're going to dive into fat burning zones, heart rates, and kind of what it all means. How much do I apply in what I do, using all this and stuff like that. We'll talk about it. So first off, I want to just give you, fat burning zones, they work like this. The heart rate is key when you're looking at fat burning zones, where your body's actually going to start utilizing fat as a source of fuel. That's going to happen only within a certain parameter. All right. Once it goes beyond a certain point, your body is automatically programmed to utilize a different fuel source. All right. And what we're going to tie into this, which is really important, and I was going to make a separate video, but I think we could just intertwine it all in, is fat burning zones, how it affects muscle building, and how you can actually kind of go through certain workouts with it, certain workouts without it, and still reap a similar benefit. And what I mean by all this is, let's start from the beginning. I'm getting out there, I want to lose weight. All right, I got 20 pounds to lose, and when I get out there, I want to make sure that I'm burning the most fat possible, the most. Now, is this something that I really want to do? Is this something very important to me at that moment? This is going to be a decision based on the individual, and I'm going to go into the explanation of what I'm asking. So for most people, let's say the guy's really overweight. He's going to be like, yeah, I need to get right into a fat burning zone as quickly as possible and just start melting this fat away, right? That's the train of thought a lot of people will usually run with. They want to go right into the fat burning zone. But when they start to get on their cardio, they get into the little swing of things, they get on a little treadmill or whatever, and they get into the fat burning zone, and they notice when they're in the fat burning zone, they're not really working hard. They're not really pushing as much. They're not really sweating profusely. It's none of the above. The fat burning zone entails a heart rate that is actually so low, you're usually able to carry a conversation, take in deep breaths, because with the metabolizing of fat comes oxygen. So if you're breathing deep, that's where you're going to burn more fat. I know it sounds crazy. Most of y'all want to get out there and huff and puff and, push until you can't push anymore. But that's the opposite of what a fat burning zone is. That's the opposite of what triggers fat loss during exercise. It's the opposite of what triggers fat loss directly. Let's put it like that. Because you're still going to get fat loss from high intensity activity, from any activity that pushes the heart rate past your normal range. You're still going to reap that benefit and burn fat. We're just talking about how do you primarily burn it? And it's exactly that. If you want to just primarily burn fat, get on that treadmill. I want you to walk. When you start walking, you're going to make sure you can take really, really, really deep breaths. Make sure you can carry a conversation, and make sure you do not go beyond that, and you will be in a fat burning zone. Now, for some people, you might not want to do that. And I'll give you an explanation of the person that may not want to do that. So to get an idea of what's going on inside the body is you have reserves. You have stored calories. You have readily available calories. Things are actually coming and going through your body, right? Not everybody wants to get on the treadmill and go into a fat burning zone. I don't always get on the treadmill and want to get into a fat burning zone. Sometimes I want to burn glycogen. Now, what is glycogen? Glycogen will be the calories that are stored inside of the muscles, all right? Made up of water, proteins, different amino acids. That's gonna make this go into your muscles. Now, I have points in my training, even if I were to be heavier than I wanna be, I don't always go in and target fat. That's not always my aim. I have my days, and it's typically the days where I'm not fully energetic and I may not have too many calories in me, and I'll find that staying within the fat burning zone is more up my alley for me that day. So when do you actually want to burn glycogen? Well, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say I went out and I had pizza. Let's say 7, 8 p.m. at night, 9 p.m., something late, right? So there's no time to really get out to the gym and do all that extra stuff. So the next morning, you wake up, you're like, yo, I was watching this video the other day and bro told me if I want to burn fat, which I ate a lot of pizza yesterday, if I want to burn fat, I need to get on the treadmill, I need to hit a 3.5 on the speed and keep that going for like an hour or two, which is great for burning fat. You could do that if you have the time. Also, if you have that level of patience. That's the train of thought most people will wake up and think within because they have watched my video, but they didn't get the full perspective. So what will end up being the case for that individual is, yes, they're going to trigger and burn some fat. They're going to burn some fat. But the idea behind burning that some fat, if they want to burn more than some, this is the way you do it. So when you actually get into the gym, you want to prioritize how you burn the fat or the glycogen, and you want to burn both. You actually want to consider burning both. It could be a form of interval training that you could establish. If anyone's not familiar with interval training, that's anywhere you take the training from one point of intensity to a high point for a certain amount of time, and you bring it back to your normal point, right? You can actually utilize interval training in order to trigger fat and glycogen back and forth. Or you could actually separate it entirely into a 30 and 30. I like the 30 and 30, right? So what I'll do is in the first 30 minutes, because I'm just getting going, I'm just getting started, I'm going to push my body into a fat burning zone. We're going to burn any little extra unnecessary fat that we can for the first 30 minutes. So I'm gonna get on my elliptical, whoop-de-whoop, Stairmaster, treadmill, whatever you feel. In order for you to sustain that fat burning zone, you need to make sure your heart rate stays within the zone that's allowing you to take the deep breaths and to carry a conversation. Some people, like me, I don't even have the heart rate monitor. You could use your phone depending on the accuracy and how much you believe in it. If the accuracy is there and you feel like it's where you want it to be, then ride with that. But I'm trying to get you to understand you don't need the devices and technology. You can react solely off of your body and how you're actually breathing. That can dictate and tell you if you're in the fat burning zone or if you're not. So once you find yourself in that fat burning zone and you ride it out for the first 15, 20, could be up to 30 minutes, you want to, at that point, switch gears. Why do you want to switch gears? Because, yeah, you don't want to sit there and burn mainly fat for the entire time if you could also reap the benefit of burning glycogen. You want to deplete some of the glycogen. By depleting the glycogen only gives your body the ability to touch base with your fat stores while you are not doing any physical activity, okay? During your rested states. Having a low glycogen count is gonna help your body tap into more fat stores. If glycogen is there, then glycogen is what your body wants to use. If the glycogen is gone, then Fat is what your body wants to use. So if you simply utilize your 60 minutes and 30 minutes to target fat and 30 minutes to tap glycogen, at the end of the workout, you will now have knocked off some fat, knocked off some glycogen, and open up the door for more fat to be burned as you progress through the day. All right? Because that glycogen that was there, readily available, pushing for all your needs and wants throughout the day as you get up and go to the bathroom, things like that, that is not going to be at a max. It's going to be a little on the low end. So your body starts to debate, damn, we got X amount of glycogen, and damn, look at all that fat. So it's like, yo, run that. Let me go ahead and send that fat out, and we're going to hold down some of this glycogen. But when your joint is maxed out, when your glycogen stores are maxed out, let's say you only hit the first 30, the remaining 30 minutes when you didn't tap the glycogen stores, you let those remain in the tank, you left the gym, and you'll find now that's what your body's running off of, right? Your body's running off of the leftover calories that you have for your stores. So this is the idea that you need to have in mind when you think about or consider fat burning zones. It's something that you can prioritize where you burn fat in the morning and burn mainly glycogen at night. Anytime you burn glycogen, it's going to be whenever your body thinks it's in need for a more extreme source of fuel. It needs something a little bit more than the fat. It's looking for carbs, and this is where it gets critical. So when does your body actually burn muscle? We're talking about how much glycogen we're gonna burn and how hard you have to work, get that heart rate up. And then we talked about how minimal you needed to work to burn fat. What about muscle? When does the body actually burn muscle? Well, after they've done the research and study, it's now traced back to the muscle will be burned when and if the glycogen stores are zeroed out. They're zeroed out. And you also have one last tank. There's one last tank of stored calories that your body never likes to touch. It never likes to touch it. It's not fat. It's not glycogen. It's the stored calories in your organs. So in your lungs, your liver, kidneys, heart, brain, all that stuff. Body takes calories, stores it. Okay? I think in the brain it doesn't. I want to say it doesn't. Could be off with that. I need to double check. But it is certain organs, I believe, they don't do it. And the only time it gets calories is when it's taken in. I think it's the brain. I could double check on that. But what ends up happening is, especially the liver, where a lot of those stores are, okay, that is the last tank. That is the last reserves. That is the calories your body never, ever, 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 ever wants to touch. So even when you flatline on calories, you didn't need, y'all know I fast a lot, so I know about this. Let's say you flatlined on calories. That means no calories. That means what about if you flatline on reserves, like the stored calories within the muscle? Let's say you flatline, there's no more reserves. And let's say you out and you about to do some sprints. So there's no reserves, which will be the glycogen throughout your body looks small. You know, you look a lot smaller at that point. You know you're on empty. Well, that other tank with most of the calories in the liver, yo, it's still full. Your body don't play. It does not release the calories from that tank. No matter what. Unless you're in a fight or flight situation. So that's when you tap into what is called the ATP stores. Adrenaline triphosphate. I believe that's the ATP. So what you're gonna know really quickly is that if you were to go without eating for a couple days and you were to constantly work out through these couple days, but nothing extreme, but then you get into a situation, you've been working out for 2 days, you haven't eaten for 2 days, you get into a situation where you need to take off and sprint. You just saw the boogeyman. You need to take off and sprint as far as you can go. You'll find your body has the energy for that. It has the energy for that. Because in that third tank of stores, the 1,600 calories that are usually extra stores and stored as glycogen go into the muscles, 1,600 calories. 400 of those calories are spread through the organs, and most go to the liver. Those calories that you don't ever get to are only tapped if you push the body hard enough. Sprints, extreme, vigorous physical activity, anything that puts you in a position where your body's demand for oxygen, the demand is less than the supply, okay? Your body's like, I need oxygen. And it's breathing, it's panting, it just can't get enough. So you're breathing faster. The faster you breathe, the more you work up that body's engine, the more you're possibly going to trigger the third tank. How do you lose muscle? This is where we've come from. How do you lose muscle? We're now at this point. We have tapped all of our calories that have just come in. We haven't eaten for 2 days. We tapped all of our glycogen stores. And someone told us that there's a third store, there's a third tank in there in your body somewhere that's going to give me the ability to sprint as fast as I want to go, and even faster if need be, because the boogeyman's chasing me. How does this all work? And that's it exactly. Once you tap the third tank, I just gave you the idea behind the third tank. Your body don't ever like to see it depleted at all. It doesn't like for the third tank to be depleted by 1 calorie. And if it is, by all means, it's gonna replace the calories that are missing, okay? The stored calories that are missing is gonna replace it. Now, let's say you haven't eaten for 2 days. And let's say you've been working out and stuff, doing regular workouts, and you burnt out all your glycogen. And then you start tapping the third tank, and your body says, yo, nah. We don't touch this tank. You touch this third tank. You touch the third tank. And we gotta go for the muscle. If you don't bring in any food and you don't got any glycogen stores that we can take from there in order to replenish this tank that never goes on empty, if you don't do that, we're gonna take muscle because we know it's there. And you're not gonna hide it from us. It's not gonna go anywhere. This is your body talking to you. Trust me, I've been there. I've woken up, been like, yo, I'm smaller. What happened? And your body looking back at you like, I told you, bruh. You should have ate some food. You should have had some extra stored calories. But without any of that present, pushing the body to its most extreme extremes only leaves you in a position where it's gonna take from the muscle to keep going. Your body doesn't want to even sustain without that third tank being full. You're gonna feel tired, you're gonna feel drained, you're gonna feel everything out there times 10. And I'm not trying to tell you how you're gonna feel because I'm not into telling anybody how they're gonna feel. But let's just say that was my experience. That was my experience. I felt like I never felt ever before because my third tank was depleted and I wasn't eating. This is on a different fast, a fast where I was a little less experienced than what I am now. And I just didn't understand why such a bad feeling after doing such intense exercise. And come to find out, it was only because I tapped the third tank. You tap the third tank, that's where you actually will feel your body's need desperately to pull from anywhere in order to fill it back which will then allow you to lose muscle. That's where you lose muscle. A lot of people see me fast for days and ask, why doesn't my muscle go down? What happens? What really goes on? Well, I never touched the third tank. I never put my body in any position where it might feel the need to utilize muscle as a fuel source. For the most part, what my body says is, yo, look, you do enough physical activity, we could just utilize fat for that, and we good. We don't need to touch anything else beyond that. So that's why I encourage in a fasted state, especially when your calories are low, and especially when the glycogen stores are low, whenever you engage in physical activity, if you decide to go with a very, very high intensity, make sure you line it up with calories. If you keep the intensity on the lower end, you don't necessarily have to line it up with calories. You keep the intensity on the lower end, your body will utilize fat for your fuel source, won't ever touch the third tank. You'll be off and running to just burning nothing but fat, not only during your workout, but you'll also make it happen while you are rested. But let me get up off this one. I don't want to make it too long. Thanks for rocking with me. Y'all stay tuned. I'm out.